try reverse. We have not got a camera. Well, I'm very disappointed that that hasn't fixed the issue. G'day. You may recall that I was having some issues with the OpenAuto Pro installation and that I fried the original Raspberry Pi that was running that installation. So I pulled this out of the van as we were leaving Melbourne. So we left the van in Melbourne, but I brought this back home with me, and I'm going to take the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus out of that, and I've got a Raspberry Pi 4B here which I'm going to install. The reason that I'm going to a 4B instead of just another 3B Plus is I have noticed some performance issues with the 3B Plus, and so I'm hoping that the 4B will perform a bit better, a bit faster, a bit less lag in the system. So I've already taken this apart. And I'm going to need to reflash this suitable with a flash for the 4B. Now the footprint's the same between the 4B and the 3B Plus, but the connectors are different. So this screen came with a set of connectors for the 4B and a set of connectors for the 3B. So thankfully I kept the 4B connectors. Always in the back of my mind I had the idea that I might upgrade to a 4B. So let's put this aside for the moment and we'll get to flashing our micro SD card. So I like to use Raspberry Pi Imager for flashing my drives. So I've got to choose the device that I'm going to image, which would be the Raspberry Pi 4, the operating system. So here I say I want to use a custom image and I choose the image that I want to load, which I have here, and then where I want to write it to, which would be onto the micro SD, which I've got loaded as drive D on this computer. Would I like to apply OS customization settings? Yes, I would. Let's go. We'll see what those settings are. So my host name, username and password, those are already saved. They're the standard ones that I have used already for this process, so it's all saved in there already. My country and location and keyboard layout, so that's all already sorted. I want SSH enabled so that I can SSH into my Raspberry Pi to make some settings later on, and just options. So once I'm happy with those settings, I'm going to say yes, I do want to apply those settings. Yes, I'm aware that it's going to wipe the drive, and away we go. So now it's writing the OpenAuto Pro image onto the flash drive and making those settings that I have chosen, and then we'll come back when that's done and do the next stage. Okay, so it's finished flashing, so let's pull the SD card and put it into the Raspberry. Can be a little fiddly sometimes getting it in there, but it's gone straight in. So let's boot it and see how it goes. I'll be interested to see. I'm hoping that it's going to boot more quickly with the Raspberry Pi 4. The first time you boot, it does take a little while, but now it wants me to choose a language. I want it to remember that I'm accepting the license terms, and now it wants the serial number, so I'll go ahead and put that in. It is important with the serial number on this that you put the dashes in, otherwise it will fail. Okay, and we're straight in. So I'm interested to see how long it takes to boot now that we've done that. So let's go reboot. Yes. Okay, I think maybe that's booting faster. I'm not 100% sure. Alright, so let's get out of there. And there's Australia. Australian English. We're going to choose Darwin as our location. Use English language and US keyboard. And it's connected to the Wi-Fi. Preferences. Bluetooth manager. There's my phone. Let's make that a favorite. And go set up. Pair device. Next. Okay, so I'm having some trouble getting it to play my game. So I'm going to SSH into the Raspberry Pi to run updates. So first of all, what I'm doing now is just jumping into my wireless router to find out what the IP address the Raspberry Pi has on my network. Alright, so we want to SSH into our Raspberry. And we're in. And so then we want to go sudo apt update. And so now it's reaching out and getting updates. When it's finished that, we will run another command to actually do the updates. So now we'll go sudo apt full upgrade. And so now that will go through and do the updates, and when it's finished we'll reboot it, and hopefully that sorts out any issues that we're having with things not working quite right, because it is a fairly old image. There'll be a lot of updates that it needs to do, so we'll let that do that and then move on to the next thing. Sudo shutdown -r now. Would help if I spelled shutdown correctly. and now the Raspberry Pi is rebooting. Okay, so we've got a few other little things that we need to do to finish getting this ready. So first one is we need to add a bit of text into the boot config file. So I'm going sudo nano boot config text, and so now we've got the config open, and we just need to add start underscore x equals 1 into that file. Now that has to do with enabling the camera. That's all that we need there. So Control X, save it, yes, and same file name. It's done. So now I need the scripts. I need two scripts. I need a shutdown script that monitors GPI open for the ignition to be turned off and shuts the Pi down, and I need the camera script that monitors for the reverse vehicle to be put into reverse and starts the camera. So I've got both of those scripts in VS Code. So let's go grab the text from one of them. Okay, so this is, I've got VS Code open, and this is the script which monitors for the reverse camera. So I'll just go Control A, Control C, and then we can paste that into a file that we're going to create on the Raspberry Pi. And here we are back over on the Raspberry Pi, and we're going to go sudo nano home Pi. I'm just going to chuck these in the downloads folder. Put them on the desktop. Just need to put them somewhere where you know where they're going to be. Oops, and we don't want shutdown. We want to call this one camera.py. And so now we've created a file and it's empty, and now we'll just paste our text in. There we go. All right. So there's our file, and the text in the file. So if I just scroll up, that's the whole script, and you can see if I scroll up here, rear view, we're expecting to be on pin 15, GPIO pin 15. Anyway, that's for later. We need to remember that so that we put it on the right one. So now we go Control O to write the file. The file name to write is what we've created. So enter, and Control X to close it. And then the other file that we want to create is going to be shutdown. So there's that file open, and we'll just go back over to VS Code. There we have the text for the shutdown file. Control C, and then back over to our file, and there we go. So again, you can see that our pin is pin 18. Okay, so we're happy with that. Go Control X, save modified buffer. I'm going to say yes. Shutdown PY is the name of the script. Alright, so we've created our two scripts. So the other thing we need to do is we need to kick those two scripts off when the Raspberry starts. So to do that, we need to modify another system file. So sudo nano etc c.local, and we need to add a couple of lines of text to that file. So jump down here at the end here, give ourselves some space. What we need to add is Python 3 home Pi downloads. Now these are case sensitive. If you don't observe the case, then the script will not kick off. So that's going to start the shutdown script, and we want to also add Python 3 home Pi downloads camera.py. Alright, so with those added in, then when the Pi boots, it will start those two scripts, monitor the GPIO pins for either the ignition being turned off or the I just spotted a mistake that I've made there. So back in here, I've put an extra backslash in this line, which is going to make it not work. Okay, so have I spelled everything correctly? Shutdown.py, camera.py. Okay, that looks better. So save that. So that should be the modifications we need to make to the operating system. We've got our scripts. We've added the lines into the system files that will do the things that we need them to do. So let's reboot the Raspberry Pi. I don't have a camera with me, so I can't test that the camera works, but I can test the shutdown script by bridging the appropriate pins. So let's have a go at that. There you go. And we need to go to settings and set the day-night mode to operate on GPIO pin 8. That's basically it now until we actually put it back into the van when we get back to Melbourne. So I've just got to screw the mount the electronics onto the back again, and it's ready to go. I've just discovered a problem in changing to the Raspberry Pi 4. The Raspberry Pi 4 has its USB ports and Ethernet port ran different way from the 3. So if I grab the 3, you can see the Ethernet port is on the left and the USB ports are on the right. And the 4 has the opposite arrangement. And you can probably see from this angle why that's a problem. The camera adapter, HDMI camera adapter, is fouling the USB ports there. Now I had been considering, I'm just going to unplug this, I had already been considering moving this adapter because I think that part of the problem that I've got with the camera not working relates to the angle the cable is coming in on the HDMI cable. And so I'd been considering relocating this anyway. So it doesn't quite fit where it currently is. So I'm going to have to relocate it. So yeah, time to investigate that. Fairly simple solution in the end. I've basically just flipped it over the other way. I've replaced one of the mounting screws on the corner of the Pi here with a longer cap screw and with a couple of nuts so that this is nice and firm. It's not going anywhere. The HDMI will come in from the other side where there's plenty of space, and it moves the plug further away from the edge, which will give the cable more room to move. I'm thinking that hopefully maybe I'll be able to get the HDMI in there and cable tie it somehow. But I can't really assess that until I'm back at the van. But even if I can't cable tie it, having it come the other direction and just have a little bit more space for it to bend around hopefully will work better. So I'll just put the rest of this back on, and that'll be that until we head back to Melbourne. Well, it's almost that anyway. There's one other thing that I decided I want to do, and that is to put a heat sink on the chip. So I've got one here which is from a 3D printer driver, stepper driver, which I don't need to use for that. So I'm thinking that I'll just do that. And hopefully that will help the Raspberry to cope better with the heat inside the dash. Well, we're back in Melbourne, and I've put the head unit back in the dash, and it's kind of working and mostly not. I am kind of starting to lose my patience with OpenAuto Pro. With the navigation not working and the reverse camera not working, it's like, well, what's the point? Anyway, I've got this replacement HDMI sitting here. So I'm going to try just plugging it into the camera right here, see whether it works, because if it doesn't work, I'm not going to the effort of running the cable into position. It would be a bit of a job to get it done. So let's see whether this works, and then decide what to do from there. I'm fairly sure that the cable that's already in there is damaged, which is possibly why it's not working. So, alright, let's fire that up and see what happens. I think that confirms that the cable is the issue. Now I have to decide whether I'm going to go to the effort of getting this cable in. Well, I think I am going to give it a go, because even though I don't really feel like doing it, the reversing camera is more important to me than the on-screen navigation. Be nice to get the navigation working again, but the reversing camera would be really useful, so I guess it's worth giving it a try. Okay, well, I've investigated, and I'm not going to be able to get the replacement HDMI cable through the same path that the existing one takes. It's too tight, so I'm going to have to find a different way of running the cable. No brilliant ideas at the moment, but I'm just going to have to think about it. I've kind of opened a bit of a can of worms here, I think. Hopefully I can remember how to close it up again. Okay, that's this end done. Guess if I ever have a failed HDMI cable again, it'll be easy to replace it. Okay, so I've got the cable all the way to the back here. This next part's actually possibly going to be the most difficult, and that is getting it from here to here. But right now I need to go to the supermarket, so I'm just gonna put that aside for the moment and head off to the supermarket, come back to it. Makes me so happy. Alright, let's put the light on, camera back up, see if it works. And we have a camera. Yay for that. Well, that's enough for me to get the cabling tidied up. And then I just need to work out what is going on with the maps not displaying on the screen, but that's going to be another day. Okay, so we have OpenAuto Pro working again now. My reversing camera, the signal was a little bit not quite right. I'm getting some breakup on the signal. May just need to reset the cable to sort that out, give that a go at some point. But at the moment it's working reliably. And then for navigation, hey Google, give me directions to Melbourne Central Station. So that's working. Go start. So navigation's working. Those are my two main things, reversing camera and navigation. And I just realised I put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode earlier on, and I haven't turned it back off. There we go. So music's working. So I just need to unplug and replug that HDMI, see whether that sorts out the issues with the camera flickering. But yeah, cool.